And I'll begin by chanting the refuges this evening. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi buddham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi sangham saranam gacchami. So last week, we explored some aspects of this natural experience that has many names. Non-dual, the presence of awareness, natural presence, great natural perfection, the Godhead, pure awareness, etc., etc. For those of you that are new to this, I'll try to define it again. But you got to know that any description that I might come up with is going to be crude. It's going to be an inaccurate approximation. Any words are really a feeble attempt at trying to describe the indescribable. Nonetheless, here goes. This non-dual experience or awareness of awareness, or some might say this mergence with God, or whatever moniker you choose, whatever it is, it's an experience of the deepest level of intimacy, is one way that I like to look at it. It really is a sense of the collapsing of your personal separate identity into everything, the entire cosmos. It might occur in a brief blip. It might linger, and it does occur naturally. And it can seemingly be sparked by all kinds of things. Meditation practices for sure, connecting in nature, through a kind of gushing feeling of love, sometimes when exercising, sometimes when just beholding a piece of art or listening to music, you get touched so deeply. I can remember it was a couple of years ago, I was at the Rembrandt exhibition at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Maybe some of you saw this exhibit when it went around. It was extraordinary. And I was completely taken by one of the self-portrait etchings. Now they had the printed etching. And then underneath it, on some of these, they had the actual copper plate that Rembrandt etched into. And this one that got me was only about 2 inches by 2 inches. It was a self-portrait. And to get a better look at it, I couldn't believe anybody was going to etch anything on something that small. I knelt down so that the light from above, the lighting in the museum, kind of hit it on a better angle for me. And it caused a kind of reflective radiance. And I got very close to it so that all the etched marks became distinctly visible. And in that moment, it was like my mind went to like, oh my God, this is not possible. A human cannot do this. And in that instant, I was transported or stunned into a moment of full awareness. I mean, I, personality, separate self, was gone. There was only this kind of bursting heart of being awestruck. I mean, the beauty and kind of falling into a merging experience with this. There were no thoughts for a time. And it was very similar to me in terms of moments that I experienced in intensive meditation practice. But this just kind of came out of nowhere like a lightning bolt. But after I don't know, a short period of time, a sense of self kind of reconstructed itself. It was a little bit amusing because there I was on my knees as if I was in prayer in front of this tiny etched copper plate. And as I was going through the rest of the exhibit, it dawned on me, it's no wonder that people like having statues and kind of beautiful works of art around them or in their homes. As I was kind of thinking of it as a portal, so to speak, that can elicit a complete intimacy with this vast mystery. So in these moments, whatever the conditions are that have arisen for you, your sense of being a witness or a seer of things out there vanishes completely for a time. And instead, you feel that you are whatever the phenomena is that you're attending to. There's no separation. And we talk about that a lot here as the foundational kind of intention of spiritual practice. There's only this knowing awareness infused with love. I mean, historically, every culture, every religion has known about this non-duality or presence of awareness. And across the ages, we, humans, have discovered and developed countless techniques to support eliciting this experience. In fact, most bona fide forms of meditation, if you take them or if you exercise them to their farthest limit, are going to take you into some manner of non-dual experience. As many of you know, I'm fond of describing all practitioners of meditation as contemplative artists. So these practices are not paint by number. And what ends up working for you or most comfortable for you is going to be quite different than what works for me or your neighbor down the block. And how that all pans out in terms of which of the many doorways that will work for you into this experience of natural awareness, that's just a matter of practice and experience and exposure, really. You know, that the religions of Sufism, Hinduism, Buddhism, their concepts of non-duality are at the very core of their belief systems. Now, all other religions and philosophies include at least a branch that is concerned with this non-dual view. I mean, the Christian mystics, Meister Eckhart, Teresa of Avila, and the more contemporary people like Thomas Merton and the Desert Fathers, they definitely swim in these waters. And recently I was looking, searching the net about non-dualism in Judaism. And there's a number of books and numerous essays that point to and describe the mystical aspects of the Kabbalah. There seems to be in some of these essays a kind of support for a everything is God perspective. Everything is God, not figuratively, but literally. Nothing outside of that. And of course, there's the indigenous cultures and shamanism. They point to such a view of the world very similarly. And they've created all manner of practices to experientially elicit this understanding. If you're familiar with the sweat lodge experience or vision quests or the Sundance rituals, and of course the powerful plant medicines, that they all set the conditions for the practitioner to have a powerful taste of this non-dual. So this interest in non-duality, really, it's at the core of human experience. And it's shown up everywhere, every corner of the globe, and for almost forever, at least as far as history tells us. And we could say that ancient India became particularly focused on it. Those cultures became absolutely enthralled with ideas about non-duality and the various methods for helping a person find their way to experience this awareness of awareness. In the Hindu context, non-duality is called Advaita, which literally means not two-ness, not two. And that's where the English word non-duality kind of originates from. Now, some of the Hindu practices in non-duality involve a oneness or a merging of identity with gods or goddesses. So some of it has even a deity-based practice to it. But it's a merging. It's different. In Buddhist tradition, non-duality, many of you know, is called not self or anatta or emptiness, and shunyata is the word for that, or rigpa, kind of the Tibetan slice of it. And there's no God involved there. But what you'll find is that most forms of this non-dual meditation use some kind of noticing principle. You'll often hear it referred to as pointing out instructions. Essentially, because they're pointing out that non-duality is already here. It's pointing out a part of your experience that is already non-dual, that is already not separated from anything. It's nothing that has to be constructed, created, or grown. It just needs to be revealed. I studied with Sokni Rinpoche, a Tibetan teacher, for a while. He used to see, his little catchphrase for this was, look, see, let go, be free. So the meat and potatoes of the practice of non-dual meditation is to learn to see this already existing non-dual, non-separate aspect of awareness. And it's the kind of continuing reflection and deepening understanding that this non-dual awareness is actually something that you have all the time. It's not a special state or some kind of peak experience that you have to learn to achieve. It's always here. It's simply something that you can learn to notice. So let's try another practice and we'll see how that goes. And this practice kind of rolls somewhat into what you'll notice as an adaptation of a loving friendliness meditation or experience with these particular pointing out instructions. And kudos to Rupert Spira for the framework for this one. So just settle back, take a few deep breaths. And be knowingly the open, empty space-like presence of awareness. In which all thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions are appearing. You and I and awareness itself are equally intimate with all the arising phenomena, all the appearances, and yet at the same time inherently free of them. You don't have to practice in order to make awareness free from all appearances. You don't have to purify the inherent nature of awareness. You don't have to mess with it in any way. All that is necessary is to see that its inherent nature is already and always open, empty, transparent, and free. So allow the experience of the body to come to your attention. You might close your eyes. Just the current sensation of the body. See clearly that this sensation is just an appearance, an arising phenomena in awareness. If you look inside this sensation of the body, of aliveness, you don't find a little pocket or center of awareness. the sensation itself is appearing in the open, empty, space-like presence of awareness. Visualize and feel that this kind of sensing vibration is suspended weightlessly in this vast, open, empty, borderless space. Now, take an image of someone that you love deeply. Could be a person you know, or an ancestor, spiritual icon or teacher, a beloved one that you have or have had. A pet, even a beloved plant that you have grown. So take a moment and choose a loved one. And place that image about 10 or 15 feet in front of you. See if you can get a felt sense of that being, what it's like to be around them. Now, feel the space between you and the image of your loved one. Feel that that space becomes charged with the love that you share. Just get a feel for that space. The loved one, the love charged space between. Now take the same image of your loved one and place it about the same distance behind you. For some folks, the space behind the body might be a tad dimmer in some way or a little more challenging. But generally, as soon as you place the image of your loved one in that space behind, the space becomes charged and illuminated with the love that you share, very similar to in front. So first, you can visualize that space, visualize and feel the felt sense of that loved one behind you, about the same distance, and feel into that loving space. And now place the image of your loved one 10 to 15 feet, about the same distance, to the left of the sensation of the body, this subtle vibrational sensation of the body. And feel that that space too, like the others, which previously was maybe blank or inert, becomes a loving space. I mean, feel free to use the same image, or you can choose different images of loved ones. Really, any being that you have ever loved or been loved by serves. The love you shared in each of those cases is the same love. So really the space all around the sensation is charged with the same love that characterizes each of your relationships. So visualizing to that left area, feeling that space between the sensing of this body and that being charged with love also. And now to the right. See and feel the felt sense of that being. And again, feel the space becoming charged with love. Now, you can probably guess, place the image 10 to 15 feet below the sensation of the body. And try not to superimpose the memory of a solid, dense earth below you. Imagine that below the sensation of the body, it is just empty space, the open, empty space of awareness. And feel that that space too is charged with love. Experience the felt sense of that loved one and the space between the sensations of the body and that image charged with love. And now take that image or a new image and place it above the sensation, the subtle vibrational sense of the body, such that the body now is floating weightlessly in a cocoon of love, surrounded on all sides by images of people or animals that you have loved or been loved by. Both visualize and feel that this vibrational sensation of the body is suspended, held, and supported in this loving cocoon. Now, allow the images all around you to slowly recede in all directions. And as those images recede into the distance, they colonize the space in which they move into with the love that you share with them, so that this loving cocoon is expanding equally in all directions. And see that as the images recede, as they recede in space, they begin to fade. Just like any images that appear in time in the form of memories begin to fade. But also notice that as the images fade, as they recede in all directions, the love with which the space is charged, that doesn't fade. The love is no longer connected to the particular image. It is just the experience of love without being directed to or from a person. And in time, the images fade completely, leaving only the sensation, the subtle sensation of the body suspended weightlessly in an open, empty, borderless, loving space. So now allow the experience of the breath to come to your attention. Slightly lengthen and deepen it so that you're 3 or 4 seconds on each inhale and exhale. You're controlling the breath a little bit. And just see that the actual experience of the breath is just a sensation also. It's a subtle sensation or vibration. That's all you know of the breath. Now visualize and feel that this breath originates in this loving space in front of the body. As you inhale, the breath originates in the space in front of the sensation of the body. So it's right out there in front in that loving charged space. And as you inhale, it filters into this sensation of body all over its porous surface. And on the gentle exhale, the breath seeps out into the loving space behind this sensation of the body. So the body is like a subtle, transparent vibration, and the breath is kind of like a gentle breeze that is passing back and forth through it over its entire porous surface. Back and forth. Not breathing through the nose, breathing through the entire front body surface. And when you exhale into the space behind, the next inhale originates in that space, in the space behind, and then seeps through the body and exhales out the front. And then originates in the front. So you breathe back and forth. As the breath filters its way through this subtle vibrational field of a body. Slightly extended breath, 3 or 4 seconds. And feel that you're not just breathing in this stuff called air. You're breathing in this loving substance in which the body is suspended. You're really breathing love back and forth through the subtle vibrational fields of the body. And as you slowly and gracefully breathe back and forth, feel that whatever subtle density of this sensation of the body is gradually and progressively permeated and softened by this loving substance that is being breathed in and out of it. You're not doing the breathing, it's the loving space that is doing the breathing with each inhale and each exhale. And as this vibration of body, this subtle vibration of body is massaged and permeated and filled by this loving substance, its density is being gradually dissolved. And the vibration of this body expands into the space all around. The vibrational field of this body is dissolving. And it becomes less and less easy to distinguish the difference between the vibration and the empty, loving substance of the breath that permeates it. These two substances are mingling, the density of the vibration literally giving itself up to the transparency of the breath. The body that started off like a cloud suspended in the sky has now dispersed in all directions, and this is now more like a fine mist that pervades and fills the empty space of the sky. And the sky permeates the mist, and the mist permeates the sky. So really the empty, loving space completely permeates and saturates this vibration known as body, turning it into itself.